What is up, everybody? It's Rev time. Hey, today I wanted to talk about playing in the pocket or different pocket kind of feels. And I'm kind of doing more of a kind of a funky thing just because I think it should hopefully get across the point. But just now what I was playing, this is kind of my pocket. And it sounds fine, but you can't always just bring your internal clock into a session with a drummer that may play a little bit tighter or a little bit looser, or they maybe have a little bit more of a swing to their groove. And there's ways to to kind of dial in on that. So I've got this loop going. It's old school, man. It's the old Tyrant mix, the Stylus days. But it's kind of a fun loop to just play to. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and just see where I land playing basically that same riff or pattern. So right away I had to change my feel. Like what I was sitting there playing, it was actually slower and it was way more swung than this feel. And I can already tell I was dropping a downbeat a little bit off on my so it's obviously things I need to practice. But here, check it out one more time. Okay, so that almost fit, except for the totally missed, but that's fine, who cares? Now that feels okay, and within this groove, I can get away with playing a little bit more swung against it, not super swung. There's a shaker over here that I can hear that I'm kind of paying attention to, because that's my syncopation. And that's the point I'm going to make, is a lot of guitar players tend to, when they're trying to play, in the pocket or with the drummer, they get real focused on just the kick drum and the snare. They want that like really loud in their mix, and that's what they play to. But really what you want to be the most focused on is anything that is syncopated, because that's the drummer's actual feel. So hi-hat, syncopation, ride cymbal syncopation. And then if there's nothing there, like say the drummer's just playing quarter notes, everything is on the downs, then, then you start thinking, well, is there a perk track, or is there some other element I can lock into? And sometimes you don't have that, and you just play to the downs with the drummer and make it sound cool. Or sometimes it gives you more room to syncopate the way you want to between those downs. But for the most part, at least in my experience, I've always had to basically crank hi-hats is always the first thing I did. Carefully, of course, when I'm playing acoustic guitar, because it can bleed into the headphones. But just with all these drummers I've played with over the years, they've all got different feels and pockets. So if we look at this loop as a drummer, that's a certain feel. But what if I bring in elements that make it feel straighter? So I had to fight to get that swing feel out of my head with all these new elements that are way straighter. I needed to still be pocketed, but I needed to play way less swung and you know, more straight. Okay, now let me shut all those elements back off. So totally different feel just between those two pockets. Now, things I've run into is the producer could say, "Hey, you're swinging. I want you to play straight against something that feels a little more like swung." So in this case, I'd have to, yeah, lock in a little bit differently. So that element comes into it as well. Just as a pro player, it's like I've had to face that type of, you know, scenario where, you know, they want things to feel a certain way. They want the guitar to actually not be swung, but they want the drummer swinging. And so there's, you know, there's going to be times, you know, that you'll face that type of scenario. But for the most part, you always want to just lock in on any, like I said, syncopated element. And like I said, with the drummer, man, his pocket's in the hi-hat. That's where the swing is. That's where because everything else is going to land pretty much with the hi-hat, with rare exception. Now there's drummers that do get into, you know, splitting beats into, you know, God knows how many to get a certain feel, and that gets really deep. But for the most part, yeah, drummers lock in on ride cymbals, lock in on hi-hats. Don't have the click ridiculously loud in your phones. Have it loud enough to where, you know, you can hear it, but when the drummer starts playing, the click should kind of disappear. If you've got that click cranking loud, that's pretty much what you're going to be playing to. So, yeah, I hope I haven't confused you guys at all. I just wanted to give an example of, you know, playing in the pocket, and that applies to everything. What I was doing was a little bit funkier, but it wouldn't matter if you were playing metal with a drummer that had a heavier pocket. You know, you could be playing straight ahead country, straight up rock and roll. You know, all drummers have different feels and pockets, and you want to be playing along with them all the way to, like, you know, being a worship musician, like strumming a guitar next to the drummer, and you can't figure out why he's looking at you like this. It's because you're not you're not in the pocket with him, and that's the thing. It's like, pay attention to his hi-hat and drop into the pocket, because then you become kind of the glue with everything else. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you guys' experiences have been in these cases, and what you do to lock in. And as always, I really appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.